guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Erad. We are back with Inside Star Citizen. I know I haven't made a lot of content on the second channel here. I've got this sort of Chinese pneumonia. It's something that's happening in China and in Taiwan as well, and it's really hard for me to talk over long periods of time, so I will try my best to do this without choking or dying or coughing too much. Yeah, those of you who've been playing with me on Discord know that it's these are difficult times, but I'll do what I can. Anyway, here we are going to have CIG reflect on the recent playtest of Pyro in the preview channel. So let's check it out. This is the latest episode of Inside Star Citizen.
At CitizenCon 2953, the first version of a playable Pyro made its debut.
Wow, 60 minutes,
allowing
long video
citizens
indeed.
For the first time to travel beyond the reaches of the standard
Oh, this
system
was so
and
exciting. I remember my
experience
first time
the
in Pyro.
lawless, chaotic frontier that awaits
it was
them
quite
just
something.
around the proverbial
Didn't like
corner.
the stations
Pyro
over there made me
Playground
feel
then
uneasy.
migrated to the newly implemented preview channel, where it opened to players worldwide to experience just a glimpse of what's to come.
Yeah, it was just a glimpse. Not all stations were there, not all direct outposts were there, not all villages and settlements were here, and definitely not all planets were there. Well, only Power 1, 2, and 3, and just a few stations and just a few locations.
And so, this week, because it was a giant milestone in the development of our project that happened entirely while we were all off on our CitizenCon hiatus, and because we have lots of shows in 2024 scheduled to follow up on all those other things you've heard.
Oh yeah, the one I'm looking forward to the most, and let me know in the comment section down below as well, what are you looking forward to the most in the future for Star Citizen, but that is the preview channel for the replication layer. Oh yeah, getting rid of those 30Ks, right?
Saw at CitizenCon. Here's our look at the Pyro Playground.
Ah, all right.
Who wants some noodles?
Oh,
You want some noodles?
Hey, monsieur, do you want some noodles?
this was so... Please, CIG, don't get rid of that. Keep the annoying... Who wants some noodles? This is epic, guys. They created a whole new stream of memes here with the who wants some noodles. They need to keep that.
Who wants noodles?
Hey, do you want some noodles? Come and enjoy some noodles.
Yes.
Who wants some noodles?
These are the best noodles ever. No one else has done noodles like this before. Noodles.
Best noodles around,
Yeah.
right here.
I don't
Warm
want any more
noodles.
noodles for as long as I live. Thank you. It's very kind of you to ask. Again and again
Noodles.
and again
Who wants noodles?
and again.
This is so funny. And I did get some noodles here, but once you open this, it looks like, you know, black stinky tofu from Taiwan, you know? No, thank you. At least it got a nice animation with the chopsticks, though. It's pretty cool.
Pyro Playground was really just a snapshot of where we're at in the process. We didn't want to release all of Pyro, so...
Now, I think the reason why they did not release all of Pyro is because it would have created a lot of 30K's error, right? It's the reason why server crashes, because players spread across the entire server, and it's really difficult for the simulation to cope, and they wanted players to enjoy as much as possible without worrying too much about the 30K's, what was happening over there, which could explain also why it felt more stable than what we were expecting, simply because, well, half of the system was there.
It was really just Pyro 1, 2, and 3.
We didn't have all of the content or features, but it was a pretty good chunk of it.
It contains a certain subset of locations to go visit, a certain subset of missions that we want
those
players
systems
to partake
very
in.
daunting.
And
The
it's just a
asteroid
chance
fields
for
around
players
it.
to
Incredible.
experience a cross-section of where we're at currently with the Pyro system.
It allows us to have a look into the new, unique systems we've built for Pyro. Things like the solar flare.
Oh man, that first solar flare, I had no idea what was. I mean, I knew there were solar flares in Pyro. I didn't know they actually did that, and they created the whole gameplay around it, where you have to hide, get in secure locations. I noticed that the secure room in the MSR, where you have the shielded cargo, works. Maybe you have other tricks about countering the Pyro flares. Let me know in the comment section down below.
Things that make Pyro feel more unique to Stanton.
Instead of us always showing players, we wanted players to be able to play it and see what we're seeing
great.
and test it out, and then also allow us to...
That Pyro one, I'm sorry to interrupt Todd Pappy, but Pyro one, oh my gosh, it's beautiful and deadly at the same time. It was like 400 degrees Celsius, and it's really, really hot out there. Really cool. It's really close to the star, that's why.
get one step closer to an actual release. The Tech Preview channel is a way for us to test out different content or different tech initiatives. So the idea would be that you're playing whatever is on live, plus...
I think that they were trying to see how players would react in a place that doesn't have, you know, armistice zones. I mean, very limited armistice zone compared to the standard system. No police. See how players would interact and fight and be hostiles or cooperate and maybe tweak it a little bit for the future release of the Pyro system. I think that was really quite important for them.
Plus, this little snippet or shelf of content or feature that allows us to try it out and make sure that it works before we take it to larger
I
audiences.
did not dare flying a
A
caterpillar
lot of
or a cargo
times
ship
when
out
we
there.
use just the PTU build, there's so many different layers of bugs and issues that we're trying to work through that a lot of times the feature that we're trying to highlight or to really get a lot of feedback on is behind all of these other things. So this allows us to...
Yeah, because players want to try new locations, players want to try new things, and maybe the feature that they want to be focusing on is something that players are not that interested in, and they're not really testing it so much. So that's maybe why it fails in the PTU.
Test out just a very, very specific thing. When we put things on the tech preview channel, it'll never be permanent. It's really just a way for us to gather information or test things out and see how it's going. And then from there, it will always be pulled down and then follow the proper pipeline, which would be going through PTU environment, then finally being released on live.
There we go, right? It was really a way for them to have like an extended QA session, right? Quality assurance and make sure that they get really the right data from the players in a real played conditions by the real players and not professional testers. The golden sphere.
When we've done demos in the past, there is a golden path, but with this, we wanted it to be like a golden sphere. If you wanted to do cargo or mining or salvaging or racing
you
or
could do that.
piracy, whatever, you know, there was something there for you.
The Pyro Playground gave players an opportunity to get a feel for several planets, Pyro 1, 2, and 3.
They do have lore names. Bloom, which is Pyro 3, and Monox, which is Pyro 2. And Pyro 1 itself doesn't have an official name because it's such a barren waste
But I do love the that storm is really, really impressive.
land. So there's never really been any mining or industrial commercial enterprises on it.
But that's why they have the
Pyro
Pyro
is a
Crab,
lawless
right?
system, so therefore, at its heart, we've got some big differentiating factors. Like Stanton should feel almost like a business park because of all the different corporations that it has there, versus Pyro should just feel completely lawless.
Oh yeah, that's what it feels. I love the frontier aspect. The stations, they're wonderful. Don't get me wrong, they're wonderfully well done. The art is fantastic. It's just not my cup of tea, right? I prefer something a little bit more civilized. But I can understand that this might be home for a lot of specific players out there, and I would understand if I were such a player, I would call that a home as well.
I really enjoy that feeling that we are in a system that
that.
is
You could fight in
completely
those
different
stations. It's
from
so awesome.
Stanton. You feel less protected, you feel more vulnerable. It becomes much more about careful planning, but there's also that freedom there as well, so you're free of consequences for a lot of your actions.
Yes, that's really what I felt. First time playing in Pyro, I had a huge sense of relief, like, phew, I can do this without worrying about getting a crime stat. I can do that without worrying about losing reputation with X amount of faction. Here, yes, but these are not factions that I care about in the Pyro system. I care about the lawful. I'm a lawful player, so I care about the lawful faction. If I do crap in Pyro system, it doesn't really matter to me.
So it becomes more of a free-for-all playground, and I think as time moves on, you'll see certain people gravitate towards that and certain people move away from it.
Yeah, people will be gravitating because they love the PvP area, the free-for-all, and people will move away from it because it's just not for everybody. You can't please everyone, right?
The interiors of the Pyro station were designed with modularity in mind, which means each rooms can be separately transformed into either a rundown or an abandoned state. So this gives like more opportunity for gameplays and new atmospheres for the players.
Just having a new skybox, just having a new starfield, just having new colorscapes for the spacescaping, etc., I think is really refreshing.
Oh yeah. Oh, it definitely felt fresh. It felt new. It felt like playing Star Citizen. I was gonna say 2.0, right? But we were already at 3.x. It felt like really getting into Star Citizen 4.0. That's what it felt like.
From
like
a content standpoint,
colors
we
that
can
you're gonna see
take
in
a
Stanton.
lot of the stuff that we've done on Stanton already and actually adjust it and get it ready for Pyro pretty quickly just because we've already built the foundation of it.
So a lot of it was a
Yes, and that's how they are going to be making those systems in the future faster and faster and faster, because all those techs, all those features would already have been done.
little bit more about sightseeing the locations. There's still a lot of mission and like interactability content to put into the locations, but there were certainly missions to be done, missions that would drive the player to them.
So the player can...
Yeah, I wish that there were a little more missions, though. There were combat missions, but there were a few bounty hunting missions, but overall it felt quite repetitive. So I just wish that in the future there's going to be a little bit more content for players and maybe more opportunities for trading or mining or, you know, capturing things or other players. Something that
they
was
could salvage,
lacking a little bit.
they could do cargo runs, they could do delivery, they could do all sorts of different missions.
Yeah, and I had problems with
Fill in
deliveries. That
address,
didn't
you
work.
could go and do
They
a
were always
bombing run
bugged.
on an outpost.
There was a couple of new missions, such as destroy the fuel tank mission.
Oh yeah, this is really
Its
cool.
actual name is Fuel to the Fire, that sees you destroying these massive gas cylinders that you can do with ship weapons or by dropping a bomb.
And
Yeah.
destroy the server mission, which are two sort of parts of a
Missions
similar mission
dedicated to
type,
bombers,
but offer
right? How
very
cool is
different
that?
experiences.
These were all just different things we wanted the players to be able to experience and to, again, make things feel different than what it does in Stanton.
Total server wipe. I like the name of the station of the mission here. Real nod to the biggest fear of the community.
While I was involved in the development, you only get involved in certain aspects, so you don't see it all as a whole. So when we did internal playthroughs and I hopped on with some members of my team, we decided we was going to play one of the missions that we hadn't played. The mission was amazing, it was very atmospheric. The AI were reactive, we barely got out alive, and then we had this warning of a solar flare, and we didn't know what this was. So
Oh,
we
look
was
at
like,
how the
oh,
sun
this
is
is
really
cool.
changing.
So we stood on the ground and stared at the sun, wondering what it was, because I believed and I had told my team that it was more of an EMP, completely forgetting that it's more of a deadly dose of radiation.
Oh, yeah.
When the solar flare happened,
So they all died?
everybody on my team fell to the floor, instantly dying with an intense hit of radiation, and it was an amazing experience.
It affects the
It
players
was an amazing
in various
experience
ways.
to die.
We're
Yeah, I mean,
hoping probably to do some
when
changes
this
to
happened, I
that
was in the
with
building,
how it
but
affects
even in
the
the
AI
building,
as well,
I did
and how
suffer
that
from the
will
radiation
affect the
and-
player
and
in
got some
general, what they
damage.
have to do to protect themselves.
The solar flare on the floor was tuned up a little bit more just because we wanted everybody to experience it at least once. In the future, we'll do adjustments so that it's not quite as annoying as it currently is.
Good. So maybe it's not going to be happening every 20 minutes. That's good. Yeah, that was a little bit too much, I think. Maybe if it
One
happens
of the
like
cool things that we got
once
to
a
experiment
day, that's
with
okay.
Pyro, we basically taking consumables and props to the next level.
Oh, yeah, the
As a
food was
team,
disgusting.
Interactables took charge of creating all the new food items that you've seen. Basically, we had to reinvent the way props have always been done. We've had to create kind of a new style, which is the improvised style, because everything in
Improvised
Pyro is, you know, scrap, it's trash, it's things that have been repurposed. We didn't have any of that stuff, so we had to do a lot of development.
Yeah,
to
it's
do
all
a lot of
trash. Even the food
prototyping,
is
a lot of
trash.
work. We made
Who
a lot
wants
of
some
kits,
noodles
so
with
it's all
trash?
brand new stuff that we've had to create to fit this new aesthetic.
Look at that, all those trash bags.
One of the things we thought would be really, really amazing to do was harvestables, consumables that actually move. So originally we created the stone bug,
Oh, yeah,
which was
the
like a
little
small
stone bug, I
kind of
remember that.
experiment on a creature that animates, you know. But we wanted to take it to the next level and create
Oh,
something
yeah, with those worms.
disgusting. We basically created a bunch of grubs that you can eat, and also, yeah, you can find these grubs, you know, around in the vents and
Oh
stuff.
no!
If you run
So
around
they're
Checkmate
actually
Station or any of
parasites.
the stations, that you can actually find them kind of flopping by vents.
Next time you're going around Pyro and looking in some vents and stuff, yeah, you might find some tasty sustenance. Just watching people do food reviews
that's gross.
about grubs is awesome.
That's. I would rather maybe eat the fried ones over the
Now
live
you'll be
ones,
able
but
to
I don't know what you
experience,
guys think in the
new
comment
mission
section down
gameplay
below.
and new locations like planet, outposts, or even pyro stations. When a player just travels to this location, it can be seen from up close, but as well from afar. So
Yeah, they're
every
so
details
big.
really count.
They're so big, you
like
can definitely have a
decals,
good view of them
textures,
from afar.
or even geometry. So we had to make sure that there was a visual consistency.
I like that they're not
it was
all
kind of a challenge
in
because
asteroid
it
fields
was kind
like
of
that.
a
Some of them are above
large-scale
planets.
station, and we had to make sure like every details really matters. You can access the station through multiple locations, so it depends for where you come. But some areas can be completely like in a rundown state, and some others can be like completely abandoned.
These are stations that are decommissioned. These are stations that are, run down and broken. The atmospheric controls don't work. The trash compactors and the janitorial stuff. None of that's going to be working. So we needed to really kind of demo and show that off, right?
To really like make the stations in Pyro really shine and be completely the opposite of Stanton, we implemented like new parts, like the damaged parts that you can see on the exterior. And they are fulfilled with a lot of asteroids and debris all around.
The pyro gangs are not going to be worrying about where the trash is going. They're just going to shove it in a corner and it being done with. So a lot of the props exploration with trash was building massive trash bags and enabling the environmentalists to then go and place them and create these massive like trash piles in the corners of stations, which is really awesome.
Can you imagine, you're working on Star Citizen, you're an artist at Star Citizen, and your wife asks you, so what did you do today at work? Oh, I made some trash. I wonder how long it took them to design all those and physicalize all those trash bags.
With the rundown environment, you feel like everything is completely destroyed, falling apart, but still kind of occupied by the AIs. Rather than in the abandoned, there's like less movements. It's just like a space for you to make discoveries and explore the stations.
Players were able to explore the space stations, explore all the alternative pathing within the space stations.
There were huge areas in those stations, but this is not in the station. That's more of an outpost here, and not always the same. Sometimes they were trying to be a bit more civilized. These were my favorite areas. Those derelict settlements, not derelict, those frontier settlements where the local citizens for Pyro are actually living there, trying to make a living. I love that. These are my boys in Pyro, the citizens for Pyro. And that's more like the side of Pyro that I preferred, where they're trying to make this lawful place a bit less lawful. And I like the fact that this is not just one-dimensional, but multi-dimensional, and that there are multiple aspects of the Pyro system that they are bringing in. That's really good.
But go to all the derelict outposts, solve some of the puzzles, have combat in the outposts as well.
So yeah, you can really feel this sense of danger coming from Pyro.
It's not we're building a tech preview or anything like that. We're just building Pyro. And so everything that you're experiencing on the tech preview channel is what Pyro will become. There might be slight modifications from there, but the outposts where they're placed, the space stations where they're placed,
they've been building this for a long time. I mean, even 2 years ago at CitizenCon, those derelict outposts or those frontier outposts, they were already here. They've been working on the Pyro system for years and years and years, and what we saw was the culmination of that, and it's not over. They're going to continue polishing it, and I think that when it's finally going to be released, when Star Citizen 4.0 finally hits the PU and the live servers, it's going to be in a pretty good shape.
Is all of those stations and content is what Pyro will be. All we did was we just held back 4, 5, and 6, and it really was just making sure that it feels like our live product.
That's what it did, yeah. That's how I felt, at least, and it successfully did that. Yes, at CitizenCon.
For all of CitCon and Pyro Preview Channel, I think the reaction has been pretty positive. I think having them be on the floor and being able to play it, at least for me, that was
very
one
positive.
of the highlights.
The only negative feedback that we heard were the people who whined that it was a PvP place.
It was really good to get that sense of validation.
It's really, really heartening to see how positively everything was received. I mean, particularly with the outposts, we wanted to give an entirely new experience, so it's always gratifying to see people playing our content.
I know our team specifically, we've been working really, really hard to bring these new interactive items, and lots of people have been posting and talking about it, which makes us super, super happy. We're always sharing the clips around, and just motivates us to want to continue and do even more cool stuff. To see people play it and have a lot of fun, experience the new missions, experience the new content. When we build our modular systems, like the Eliminate All mission where you're just sent there to kill 10 people. Cool. Pyro has a nice way of adding a new spin onto it that makes people feel refreshed.
The implementation of Pyro system is going to make Star Citizen grow as a game, and finally open the gates to new possibilities in terms of gameplay.
I think this is Stefan's first time in front of the camera.
So what happens going forward is that we'll continue to harden and continue to get ready for the actual real release of Pyro and get all of the content
not giving
in
dates,
and
unfortunately.
make sure that
I hope to see Pyro
it's
soon.
working with all of the different
the other
AI
planets next
aspects
time.
or systems that are coming online and do more tuning passes. And then there's the actual technical aspects of getting server meshing ready and in order to make sure that it's the best experience when we actually do the full release of 4.0.
Yeah, and that's going to be the next stage, right? In the preview channel, I think that we're going to see the first, the replication layer in the preview channel. We're going to have to try to test it out. They still want to bring it in the 3.21 branch and not the 322, so we'll see if it comes before 322. I get right now in the 322 PTU it's not there, so maybe they are going to delay. No news as of that right now, unfortunately, but they've had a couple of testing in Evo Caddy, so we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep you guys updated on the main channel about it.
Of the things that we know we still have to work on is performance, particularly optimization and performance for the locations. There's a lot of content streaming in and out all at once, particularly at ship speeds when you fly super fast over an outpost. And we're really, really wanting to expand the...
There's that, and I noticed that at least, and I was not the first one to notice that, but on my PC and other people's PCs as well, the Pyro planets did not look as beautiful as they did on their official content as well, so maybe that's also something they need to work on.
AI experience within each outpost so that it's more of a fuller seeming. People are doing logical things in these outposts and it's not just lots of people wandering around.
With Pyro being an unlawful system, a lot of people have been experiencing spawn camping, ganking, however you want to phrase it. It's not fun, but it is a part of being in an unlawful system. There are a few sort of key puzzle pieces we are missing to sort of have the intended experience there, which are, we need AI to be there and we need them to be reactive so they can see
addressing
what
ganking
you're doing and be able to help the players who are just trying to get out. We also need reputation.
Reputation really matters. You don't have the UEE doing any kind of patrols.
If someone is sat there ganking people coming out, it get to the point where Rough and Ready are that sick in you, you're not allowed at their stations anymore. You're not allowed to refuel there, land there, rearm. You go anywhere near it and they will shoot you down.
You can gain and lose reputation with the gangs.
They need to make that happen.
Various locations.
That was what
Are
was
you going to be able to go to
channel.
this station because you've destroyed an entire settlement where Rough and Ready work? You know, you kill this person. How's that going to affect your long-term reputation?
What you do really impacts where you can go and
but this
people's
was not the
response
case
to
yet.
These kind of things will not stop that gameplay, but will heavily discourage it.
Basically, the goal is that it does feel
I'm
like
so glad that
a
they're
lawless
addressing that.
experience compared to Stanton.
So what we learned?
All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode of Inside Star Citizen. I'm so glad that they addressed ganking and spawn killing because that was maybe one of the biggest concerns within the community, but it seems that they are aware of it. And they are telling us that there are indeed going to be systems that will prevent that from happening. Anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Iran. I'll see you guys in the next one.